The agenda this week tested the waters on whether kids will be going to summer camp this year, explored the future of online learning in the province, and checked in on the rising real estate market. The agenda's week in review begins with a sometimes confusing messaging from Queen's Park on their pandemic protocols.
We have this constant up and down push and pull from the government, and I think that's what makes this lockdown different, is that people are just incredibly tired of being jerked around, and they want a decision made, and for this to be resolved. We're heading into more than a year of it, so I think the government is going to face its most difficult audience yet with this latest lockdown.
Amanda, you just heard Laura call it a yo-yo effect. What kind of impact does that have on the general public when a yo-yo effect, for lack of a better expression, takes place?
I think you see people tune out, right? They see inconsistencies from the government, and then they decide they can't trust what the government is going to say. So instead, they turn inward and say, okay, I'm going to make decisions for myself and what I think is best, which may or may not be in keeping with public policy, in keeping with what the doctors are advocating, or the elected officials. I mean, that is a real danger here, right? Is the minute, and I think that the communications challenges we've had over the last week with, the premier and the chief medical officer of health for the province saying schools are safe versus regional medical officers of health closing schools, all that tells people is they can't trust anyone anymore, so they ignore it. And I think the minute the public turns off and they do whatever they want, you see these rise of individual businesses staying open. These aren't rebels without a cause. These are yoga instructors. These are gyms. We have the public tuning out of the government's message and what they want them to do. And without that social contract, these lockdowns are not effective.
Gabriel, what's your view on that?
Yeah, I agree that there's definitely a yo-yo effect that's happening. I think we need to follow the evidence here. Healthcare providers have been coming forward, in addition to medical officers of health, and we've been doing this for months, well before even wave 2, talking about workplaces as a serious risk for transmission. And we've been talking about strategies like, for example, paid sick leave. We've been talking about bringing vaccinations out to communities that are hardest hit by this virus. And I agree. I really feel for small businesses. We know that 68% of these outbreaks that are happening in workplaces are happening not at mom and pop shops. They're happening at large-scale manufacturing plants, food processing plants, and factories. And so if we're really going to do something different that isn't just the yo-yo effect that we're talking about, we need to address occupational spread. And we need to bring this pandemic down to a point where we can open up businesses where they're not having to buy inventory, sell inventory, where they're not having to suddenly shut down or suddenly open. I really feel for them.
I will get to that angle in a few minutes' time, but Laura, I want to come back on another specific example of something that, again, just a few days ago, by means of example, we heard the Education Minister, Stephen Lecce, and the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, both say things like, the best and most appropriate place for students nowadays is in school. There are mental health issues when they're not going to school, etc. We heard all the arguments. And then a whole bunch of medical officers of health came out and said, you know what? There are too many outbreaks in too many schools, and we got to pull the pin here. And suddenly, as of today, school is shut down again. Can you help us understand what powers, not advisory powers, but actual powers, local medical officers of health have in terms of schools open, schools closed, businesses open, businesses closed?
Well, I'll try, Steve, after a year of covering this. The medical officers have what's called a Section 22 power under the Health and Promotion Act. I might be messing that title up, but essentially they have legal powers to order closures from everything we saw, such as the Amazon facility in Brampton, which was ordered closed a little while ago for a couple of weeks, and of course to schools. And I think you saw at the beginning of the pandemic, there was certainly a lot of resistance from the local medical officers to use this power. And you sort of saw a bit of a battle brewing between them and the province of who was a game of chicken, if you will, of who was going to act first. I think now you're seeing them using these powers more widely when they're dissatisfied with what the government is doing. And so that opens up a debate over who should make the decisions.
let's look forward and talk about this summer. Now, I know all three of you, for example, are working towards the expectation that you will be allowed to open this summer, but that decision has not yet been made by the provincial government. So, Cassandra, tell me, what are you and what are the folks at Cedar Ridge doing right now to prepare to open during a summer of COVID-19?
Yeah, so our plan is to open as long as the government allows it. We have been implementing sanitization stations. We are changing our program. So instead of having 5 program areas a day, we're switching it to 4 to allow more time for sanitization and distancing, because obviously some programs are going to have to run a bit different. We are also planning for all activities to be outside. You know, we like to say that there's no such thing as bad weather, just poor clothing choices. So we are planning everything's outside. Thankfully, we have 150 acres and usually about 125 campers. So that's more than an acre per camper. So hopefully we'll be able to allow for lots of distancing, and we're planning to do cohorts and just planning to do the best we can.
So it sounds like you are definitely prepared, but I have to ask this follow-up. You know, one of the joys of summer camp is to get as absolutely filthy, dirty, unsanitary as is possible under the circumstances. Is that off this summer if you guys end up opening up?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be different. It's going to be a summer like no other, but we're doing our best to implement as many sanitization stations, one for each activity station. And we've also implemented hand washing, outdoor sinks, just to do the best we can.
Okay. Yeah. Melissa, how about a Trails Youth Initiative? What have you got planned for this summer in the event that you're allowed to open that would prepare you better for COVID-19?
Well, I'm feeling optimistic and confident. We're in a state of readiness. There's a lot of support from our kids and parents, importantly, our staff and the community to open. We have already begun hiring for our summer staff, and we've booked our permits for the backcountry canoe trips. We've had ample time to develop risk management plans, policies, and procedures. All camps are built on trust. So if we say yes to our families to open our doors, that lands with a lot of weight. And it's a massive responsibility to care for 150 youth and 40 staff. So our community knows if we say yes to camps, that we're going to do everything in our power to stay safe. We're considering this to be the most important summer ever in our 30-year history. The big trick will be to drive down that risk of COVID entering the isolated environment through testing and screening. And we're seeing evidence from success in other parts of the world that we can effectively manage these risks.
Let me ask Jack Goodman about that. Are you confident that if you're allowed to be open, you can open safely to the satisfaction of all parents and campers?
We're absolutely confident. We know that the camps that operated in the United States last summer, for example, day camps and overnight camps, had the very same equally low COVID risk. So as was already stated, the plan that we've submitted, and we're awaiting a refinement on that plan with whatever isolation the kids can take before camp begins, even if they're in school, limiting that social engagement, a testing program. And we're working very hard with the government to establish a testing program for all of camps so that it will be equitable and equal across all the landscape. So whether there are camps that can afford to absorb or pass on those costs, or camps that service individuals where those degrees of freedoms don't exist, that'll be an enormous part of the program of safety. But more than ever, it's, as was described, cohorting, modification to programs, the distancing, wearing masks indoors, shifting whatever activities were indoors, outdoors, and baked into the camp experience is so much time outside. And plus, we need to do whatever we can to put all of these measures in place, knowing the evidence is strongly supportive of them. We've got to get those kids their mental health restored, and we think the camps are going to be a huge part of that.
I describe this, Steve, as a very significant shift to the public education system in Ontario. You know, throughout the years, we have documented changes to the system, whether it's, you know, the introduction of full day kindergarten, whether it's, you know, the elimination of grade 13. Here we have another shift happening in public education where, according to this document that was shared with education stakeholders, which is teacher unions, school board reps, principals, admin, trustee associations. What the government is proposing is legislation that would entrench remote learning, online learning, whatever you want to call it these days, would entrench it in the public education system, that would give parents, give families the option at the secondary level or the elementary level to either choose to send their children to a bricks and mortar classroom or to continue online learning.
All right, Annie, this is being characterized or portrayed by the province of Ontario as more parental choice. Is that the appropriate framing of this issue in your view?
Well, it is. I mean, it is a major shift. And I think a major part of this, and I want to, you know, my proviso here is I love TVO. I think it's incredibly important. I loved it for my kids. I love the agenda. It's great. But part of this major shift is to centralize control over online learning with the Independent Learning Center. And that's taking control over that part of the learning for secondary students out of the hands of school boards, out of the hand even of the Ministry of Education, and handing it over to what is, a nonprofit. It is an arm's length agency of the government, but it's not accountable in the same way that governments are. So that's one worrying piece in this. I think the other piece goes back to what Michael was saying and the difference between the learning we're having right now, which is still kind of emergency learning. So it's not like we've developed all of the courses that are necessary in the system to deliver them online. Teachers and boards are adapting what's available now and delivering them online. This shift the government is suggesting would make all of that happen so that courses would be available to deliver online and happen very, very quickly, so that suddenly you would have all of the online learning, again, under the control of TVO to TFO, the Independent Learning Center, and all of the courses ready to go out in about a year. And I think that for everybody right now, and back to how we don't have enough information about how kids are doing as it is, to do something huge like this in the middle of the crisis that we are still definitely in Ontario, where there's massive change, where everything is destabilized, is incredibly worrying. And it's really hard to understand what's the rush. Why do this? Why now? On the other hand, boards definitely, and parents and kids and everybody working in the system would like more information about what's going to be available in the fall. It still seems as if we're going to be in a period of instability. So in ensuring that we've perfected and we understand how online learning works is probably the most important thing we can be doing right now, rather than just going, let's change it all so that anybody can have this choice.
Well, Annie, they do say you never should let a good crisis go to waste, so maybe that's why they want to do it now as opposed to wait until the pandemic's over?
That could be true, but others might say that sometimes you can use a crisis to kind of disguise what you're doing, so that that in a crisis nobody's totally paying attention, and you make an enormous change. Caroline's right, to the whole public education system, but everybody's really just worrying about, are they going to get vaccinated, or is their school going to be open or closed? Everybody's eye right now is on the immediate crisis, and I would argue that we are not ready to make this change because, back to what I said, we actually don't know how it's been working. So it's like we're making this change before we figured it out. And that is, I think, not good for kids.
Michael, I need to get your sense of the significance of the move of online education from what we're experiencing now, which is essentially an emergency response to the pandemic, to a more fundamental, entrenched part of the province of Ontario's education system. How do you regard that?
Well, as Carolyn mentioned, I mean, it is a significant change, but it's a significant change that, depending upon how it's used, may not necessarily be a bad thing. If you think about that 10-year-old grade 5 student who might be in a rural area and the only brick and mortar school that they have an option to attend, they're being bullied at every single day. And, it's just a crime to be sending them back to that building day after day. Providing that student with the option to do all of their classes online to remove them from that situation is not necessarily a bad thing. Now, if the government is doing this because they are hoping that this is a cheaper option of doing it, then that's a completely different story. And they're looking at moving mass numbers of students onto the online system.
Let me read this tweet out here, and Tim Hudak, I'll get you to respond first to this tweet. This is from someone named Ben Rabidou, who runs a market research firm, North Cove Advisors, who cover housing issues. And he says, spoke to a realtor friend who told me about a recent sale where their client, the seller, received 2 bids on the house, one at ask price and one $175,000, or almost 10% above ask. There were only 2 offers. Blind bidding process needs to seriously be re-examined. So says Ben. What says Tim?
Well, number one, governments of all stripes, whether progressive, conservative, liberal, or New Democrat, have had the view that a homeowner should decide how they sell their home. That is, after all, their personal property. They'll be making decisions on what kind of home they want to buy, their retirement, and it's human nature to try to get the best return you can because you're planning for your future. I think the real issue here, Steve, is not the system of bidding. It's a lack of inventory and supply in the marketplace. And I'll talk about Australia's Develle did in a moment. So it's really sadly, I totally get the buyer frustration right now. It's a cruel game of musical chairs. You have more and more people looking for homes, so fewer chairs available to find that home. And as a result, people get frustrated, prices go up. But it's not how you arrange the chairs. In Australia and New Zealand, where auctions are common, they're not mandated, they're common, they're experiencing the exact same thing. They're having record high prices, they have a lack of inventory, and an increased side of demand. So it's not how you arrange the chairs, it's getting at more inventory and supply in the marketplace to make sure home ownership stays within reach.
Since you mentioned Australia, we just happen to have a clip of how it works down there, down under. And Lisa, I'll get you to watch this and then comment first on this process, okay? Sheldon, if you would.
Let's get the show on the road. Who's going to give me a start now? How about we kick it off at $850,000? It's certainly worth more than that. Who would start me at that? Just put up your hand if you'd like to start at $850. You shouldn't be hesitating at that price. I'm at $850. I need to see a rise from there. 70, welcome to the bidding, sir. With my starter now at $870. 90, can I make it? 90, is it? Sorry, at $920,000. Great, strong bidding. Welcome to the bidding, sir.
Lisa, should we do that here?
You know what? My sentiments are very much in line with Tim Hudak, and I must say, the sellers. Obviously, when we think about houses today, we have to remember that the sellers should have the right of how they want their home marketed. We also need to keep in mind that, even though that works in Australia, that's not going to work everywhere. And we have to keep in mind that even with blind bidding and the real estate transactions, that the new Real Estate and Service Act in Ontario already addresses this by giving the seller the option to disclose competing price offers. The industry is asking the province also to require the buyer's consent. And that's something that we have to keep in mind. But if we're going to move to a system similar, that consent must be heightened, and it must be consent from both the buyer and the seller. So all parties that disclose confidential offer prices that could compromise, because it could compromise their negotiation positions. But as Tim said, what this is definitely a supply issue. And I can say, on TREB's position, one of the things that they focused on in their market year in review and outlook report, they've highlighted the missing middle research. And I'd encourage more people to even take a look at that report that was put out on treb.ca.
Okay, I'm going to get to supply in a little bit, but I'm intrigued by this Australian example. And Tim, let me bring you back in on this. I can appreciate how perhaps in Sudbury on a Sunday afternoon when it's minus 25 outside, that may not be the easiest thing to replicate. But having said that, are they onto something there that we ought to look into here?
Well, it is an option. Elise Patel, the president of the Toronto Real Estate Board, Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, talked about the process, right? We actually did, beginning with the Wynne government, we talked about ways to give more choices in the marketplace for how you buy or sell a home. And that was followed up by the Ford government that now more clear options in how you do so.
That's just some of what we covered this week on the agenda. For more, including the full conversations, you can visit our website, tvo.org, our YouTube channel at youtube.com/theagenda, or our Twitter feed, twitter.com/theagenda.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.